In today's tutorial, we will learn how to have different states of the cursor. So into today's example, I've created two states. One is when we hover a link where, in this case, the hamburger, and the second one when, for example, the user does some interactions on the page, and in these examples when he drags the slider. And I hope you'll enjoy it, and let's get done. So in the previous video we got to the point where we added a custom cursor with actually we have a secondary that follows the main cursor, and the main cursor that has a mixed blend of difference to get this over effect. And now we'll add few actions to this cursor. One is when we gonna hover the hamburger menu, the secondary cursor will hide, and the main cursor will make bigger, will scale up, so we'll get a nice effect. And the next one is this is more exciting, because when we will change the behavior and the look of the cursors completely when we'll click and then drag to have the slider move. So back into our code, we'll make use of context, since we need to have a place where we will store our state, and then depending on the action the user or I'm doing will change this state. So let's create here a folder called context, and inside of it we'll create a custom cursor. This is for the context, and I'm gonna create a new pattern that I've learned from one of my coworkers, the context manager pattern. So manager .tsx, and let's define firstly the context. This is gonna be let's import first of all the create context from React, yeah, and then we'll have an export type of cursor look, and for this we don't have it yet. I don't know why it imported. And here we're gonna have the different types of the cursors we want to get. So for now we'll have three states. One is for default, and default is gonna be the default case. One, it's gonna be for the hamburger, and for the slider drag, and then we're gonna get we're gonna have the type of the context, custom cursor type. It's gonna have the type, which is cursor look type. Why it's importing? And also we're gonna have a function set type, which will get the type of the cursor, and it will be just a function. And for the context itself, we'll get the custom cursor context, which is create a context of custom cursor type, and this can be in, and inside of it we're gonna have a default object, which is for the type it's gonna be default, and for the set type it's gonna be an arrow function for now. And let's export the custom cursor context. All right, and this is for our cursor and for the context. And for the manager we're gonna have a red function, which is gonna be custom cursor manager, and inside of it we'll get the children's, and we will return not a div but a custom cursor context dot provider, and as a provider we'll return that we'll need to pass the type and the function to accordingly set the type of our cursor. For this we will use a state, the type, which is a use state. A use state with the default parameter, and this, let's import the use state. Here we need to close the provider, and this provider needs to wrap our children. And for the value we gonna give it to type and a set type, and the type it's a string, but we need to let it know, so this is a cursor look type. And now we know that a cursor look type can be a default, a hamburger, or a slider drag. Yeah, we context. Yeah, we have a typo here. Context, and here from the context. Yeah, so we can, which is children, and React JSX element. Yeah, it's not like this, but it's JSX element, and we gonna get it like a props, and this is, let's transform it to interface. Yeah. So now we have our manager, and what's doing the manager is just providing the context to its children. Now we have to wrap the manager into our pages. So at the root of our app, we're gonna import the custom cursor, and let's import it, manager, and we have no errors as far as I see, and the app is still working. That's fine, that's nice. Now we need to update the state of the manager with the types. So let's do it for the hamburger. So let's access the context. So use context, and for the context value we'll get the custom cursor context, and we need the set type. The way we're gonna set the type to the hamburger is when we're gonna use the mouse enter and mouse leave event. So on mouse enter we're gonna set the state, the type to hamburger, and one on mouse leave, we're gonna update the state, the type to, yeah, we don't need it here, to default. And that's all for the case when we will set the cursor to have a hamburger style. And now the second way, or the second part where we will set the state, it's the slider. And first let's access the use context, which we need to get the custom cursor context. Again, we need to get the set type, and when the users presses the slider, we need to set the type to slider drag. And when he releases the mouse, we need to set the type to default, and all it's left is to add the state to the class name of the cursor. And we will do it in the custom cursor function. We'll get the, let's actually use the snippets, use context, and we'll get the custom cursor context. And we need to import it, and we will get the type, and this type will pass it to the class name. So we need it to be here a template literal, and let's pass it as type. And now let's check if this works by inspecting our cursor. So inspect, so we have the default, and when we hover we get the hamburger, and when we close click and drag we get the slider. When we release the slider we get back the default. So for the hamburger class, we're gonna update the both cursors. So we'll need to create two animations. One is for the fade out, since we want to fade out the secondary cursor, and to scale up the main cursor, and one for the keyframes scale up. Yeah, so here we will have the animation, which is the fade out for 1 second, and for a cubic Bezier, so 0, 0.175, 1 for, and we'll have a delay of 0 seconds, and just for or moving once in one direction. And for the secondary we'll have the scale up, which the scale up will get from the transform scale 1 to transform scale 1.5. And for the fade out we'll have the from opacity 1 to opacity 0, and we'll add some new values to the main cursors. So we'll have a transition of opacity 1 second of cubic bezier, and we'll copy this value to the cubic bezier, and an animation of fade in. So this is the opposite of 1 second, and again the same cubic bezier 0 seconds, and for the direction we have the forward, and let's create the fade out. Fade out is actually fade in, no fade out, fade in. So from 0 to 1, we hover the main cursor getting bigger, and the secondary just disappears. We can tweak the scale. So let's say to scale up to 3. Yeah, so this is like, I think it's a quite nice effect. But let's tweak it back. One of the effect, it's kind of done. Let's move it to the slider, and for the slider we'll need a few things. First of all, let's build the elements that will appear when we'll click the slider. So we need the 2 point, as you saw in the demo, and for this I'm gonna use the after and the before selectors. So for the secondary cursor, for the cursor background, we need it to be relative, and for the after and before we're gonna have a content, which is nothing. They both are gonna be circles, so quite small, 3 pixels, height 3 pixels, a border radius of 50%, a background of white, display block. Also we need it to be absolute to the secondary cursor, so top 50, we need it to vertically align it. A transform, translate y minus 50%, and for one of them it's gonna be to the left, and another one is gonna be to the right. We need it to have an animation of fade out of 0.75 sec, which with the same linear function. Actually, this is not linear, a cubic bezier function. And for these are the default values, and now we need to customize one. We have a drag, so we'll do a couple of things. We'll animate the cursor background and both of the dots, so after and before. And for the cursor background, we'll need it to have 2 animations consecutively. running one after another. So animation. The first one will have the scale up, which will run for 1 second, and with the same is function. And the second one will have the background turning to black. So we'll have the background, which again will run for 1 second, and let's see, we have the scale up, and let's write the background animation. So from we have a background color of transparent to background color of black. Main cursor will have an animation of fade out, and for the before and for the after, we'll need again to build few keyframes animations. So for the after, we have the animation, and we'll need it to be a fade in with again the same values, and we'll need it to have a translate right dot animation, and again with the same values. And for the before, we have again the left, the fade in and the translate left dot. And now let's write these two small keyframes. Translate left dot from transform translate around 20 pixels and minus 50%. Keep it centered. To transform translate 0 pixels and 50%. And for the right dot, we'll have the minus 20 pixels, and it's gonna go to 0 pixels as well. And so I've got two errors here. It should be background up, and here it's actually after. And yeah, that's nice. So we have this nice little smooth effect of the cursor. We drag, the secondary cursor disappears, and we have these two dots appearing, and the background transforming to black. And yeah, this is what we accomplished into today's tutorial. In this chapter about custom cursors, we learned how to create or how to change the custom web cursor and how to create this smooth element following our cursor. As well as today we learn how to change or how to have different states of our cursors into different behaviors of the user. So for example, hovering on a link or on an action, and having an intermediate state when user does something on your page. And of course, this example can be improved and can be done much better with a little bit of creativity, but I'll leave this to you. And we gonna put an end on for now for the working on the custom cursor. Thank you for being into this adventure, and I'll see you to the next exciting videos that are coming.